What is going on? It is Nate the Game Guy coming back with another video at hand, and today I want to talk to you guys about mistakes that I refuse to make again as a collector. Now, I've been collecting games for a very long time. I have amassed quite a large collection and have two complete sets here in the game room, and have one almost complete one and another one that I'm working on right now, which is the Sega Dreamcast. So I'm sure you guys can imagine I have done a lot of things when it's come to game collecting. Now, of course, in this video right here, I'm going to be discussing a few things that I don't really want to repeat again, and I have certainly learned my lesson with some of these, and I kind of want to reflect on some of these things that I have done over the years with you guys. So without further ado, let's dive right into this video subject, take a look at some things that I don't really plan on really ever doing ever again here with the game room and the game collection right after the intro. Alright, so I'm going to start this video off pretty strong by talking about the first mistake that I've made when starting out as a game collector, and that is buying stuff to fill up space. When I first started out as a game collector, I first saw a lot of really cool game rooms and game collectors, and I wanted to go all in on this hobby. I remember that I was trying to get as many games as I could. I was trying to get as many pieces of memorabilia as I could, different collectibles, figurines, you name it. If it was related to video games, I wanted to throw it right here in the game room and in the game collection. Now, one of the first game collectors that I ever saw and who I really enjoyed watching was Pete Dorr. And funny enough, if I remember correctly, I think Pete Dorr even mentioned this in a video as I continued watching some of his videos many years ago. Now, don't quote me on this, but I think it was either him or another collector that said, don't buy stuff to fill up space. And I think that is a huge mistake that especially first-time game collectors can make. I certainly made it myself. And, you know, with this hobby, you're going to easily fill up space over time. You may not do it right away within the first year or the second year or the third year, but if you keep at it with this hobby, I promise you, you are going to have no trouble filling up space. You're going to find a lot of amazing games that you're going to want to play. You may want to decide to become a completionist like myself, where, you know, you try to complete as many game libraries as possible. You're absolutely going to be filling up space if you're going to do that. You're going to find a lot of cool collectibles, figurines, different things of merchandise. Believe me, you are easily going to fill up space over time. Now, of course, I was very thankful and fortunate that I was able to figure out, oh, if I arrange something this way, or maybe I don't need to display this item or that item. Maybe if I put something on this type of shelf or that type of shelf. Thankfully, I was able to work things out. However, not everybody has that luxury when it comes to their game rooms and their game collection. So I would say, when looking back at some of my past mistakes as a game collector, I certainly plan on avoiding the mistake that I did a very long time ago, and that is buying stuff to fill up space, because I certainly had no trouble doing so as the years have gone by. Now, another mistake that I want to address here in this video, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be surprised, really, you didn't do this like in the beginning and whatever? But it's true. What I'm about to name drop right here, I did not do until several years later down the line as I was a game collector. And that is shopping at garage sales and thrift stores. So when I started out as a game collector, there were really only three main places that I would go to buy my video games. I would go to GameStop, I would go to my local mom and pop retro games store. I almost said GameStop. And also eBay. So I certainly grabbed a lot of games that I wanted out of those three stores when I first started out. And when I first was a game collector starting out, I wasn't a completionist. I just wanted to buy games that I wanted to play and have some cool memorabilia. But as I discovered different collectors later on down the line through YouTube, and I saw like, oh, this guy's got a complete set, or this guy has every GameCube game ever made, or this guy has a complete North American Nintendo 64 set, or Dreamcast set, or whatever, right? I was like, wow, that's so cool. I want to be a part of that. And then that's when I found later on that a lot of these guys were picking up games at like yard sales, thrift stores, estate sales. And when I first discovered that, after several years of game collecting, I was like, why did I not think of this much sooner? I felt like a total idiot not knowing about that. But, you know, when I was watching a lot of game room videos and game collecting like channels and all that, a lot of the ones that I watched, they didn't really talk about yard sales, thrift stores, all that wonderful stuff. It wasn't until like I started seeing guys like CJR here on YouTube when I saw like, oh, cool, he's getting like Nintendo 64 games and like these really cool games at garage sales and all that. Me personally, I have kind of thrown in the towel when it comes to garage sailing and thrift shopping. I've kind of mostly have done is just like buying bundles locally and online and then just selling for a profit and then using that profit to fund the collection. Just my area, garage sales are just not really that great. People know what they have, meaning that they're going to try to sell you an Xbox 360 for $200 when you could just buy a used one on eBay for about $60 with shipping or $80 with free shipping. Like that's kind of what I'm dealing with over here. But you know, I think that is something a lot of collectors could easily say like, man, I wish I started like going to garage sales a lot sooner and thrift stores like a lot sooner, way back in the day, back when, you know, you could actually find a deal. Not saying you can't find a deal now at garage sales, but I would say that the competition of people trying to get the deal before you do on video games has certainly skyrocketed within recent years. And yeah, I do have to say that is one thing that I regret doing from back in the day is not going to garage sales and thrift stores, especially when I first started out. Now, this is another mistake that I certainly made as a game collector, and that is not properly storing my items. So what do I mean by this? I'll give you an example. Several years ago, when I had a completely different arrangement for my game collection, I had a poster up on the wall, and at the time, I did not have tinted windows like in the room where I had this poster up. And as time went by, I didn't really notice this until like one day I took the poster down to just, you know, rearrange things and kind of move things around and all that stuff. I couldn't help but notice that it was faded. Now, thankfully, this was not a really collectible poster. It was a poster that I easily could have bought. And there have been posters that I've replaced over the years, and thankfully none of them were rare or collectible. These were just posters you could have just bought at like Walmart or like Michael's from like back in the day. And you can buy these posters still online if you go to the right website. But I remember it got faded. It wasn't really fun, but it also wasn't a big deal because it was very easily replaceable. Now, of course, that could easily be said with a lot of things as well. You know, if you have a lot of electronics and games, especially disc-based games, you want to keep everything in a climate-controlled room. And of course, keep things away out of sunlight. At least, you know, try to use some common sense with displaying and organizing and keeping some of your items and all that, so that way your stuff will like stay active for like a long term and be in good condition for a long term. Obviously, if you have like a game collection, like don't keep it out like in a garage where there's no like air conditioning or heating, a shed like outside, or heaven forbid keeping it outside or whatever. Like, use some common sense. And I don't say that to put anybody down, but you know, if you want to have your stuff last for a long time, you got to take care of it. So that was another mistake that I made as a game collector. Now, of course, I think this is a big mistake that I made as a game collector, and that is not starting this channel much sooner. You know, I really wanted to have my own game collecting and game room channel for a very long time, and I just kept putting it off, saying like, oh, my game collection's not that great, or I need to do this, or I need to do that. And the truth of the matter is, I always wanted to have my own game room and game collecting channel, and finally decided to start this channel about a year ago. And it's been pretty interesting. Like, I've seen a lot of cool people comment on the videos. I've seen some of my favorite game collectors become subscribers of mine. You know, it's been a pretty fun experience, you know, sharing the game collection, talking about the game collection, kind of talking about the things I've learned, some of my challenges, kind of like some of my favorite things about video games. It's been pretty enjoyable. You know, I feel too, like, especially when I started out, I wanted to have my own game collection like right away, and like my own game room channel right away. Of course, I started out small, and I do follow a couple smaller game collectors where, you know, they don't have the biggest collection, right? But they're really passionate about what they're doing, and kind of reminds me of like my younger self, because after all, that's where I started out as. Like, you know, I had a pretty decent sized game collection, but it really was not considered like game collector worthy, at least with my opinion back during that time. But obviously things have changed, and now I have my own channel dedicated to game collecting and my own game room, and it's been pretty cool ever since. So of course, when talking about things that I regret doing and not doing, I certainly regret not doing is starting this channel out much sooner. And I do want to say thank you to everybody that has given this channel support. It does mean a lot, and I only plan to continue doing things, keep doing what I'm doing for a very long time. So again, thank you everyone. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out my video. Please be sure to check out these videos here, and here. After all, I post a lot of content when it comes to game collecting tips, and other video game related subjects. So be sure to keep an eye out every Monday and Friday where I upload consistently, and I'll be seeing you guys next time.